Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're continuing our series in the brand new Player's Handbook, talking about the subclasses found within, and we're moving on to the Druid. Druids, being the primary nature spellcaster, have, in my opinion, been one of the hardest to play characters in the past. Druids have their wild shape, which I've discussed the changes about in my Druid video, which is a complicated feature. And their spellcasting is very, very specific. It's actually quite different than the other wisdom based casters like the cleric, and it certainly doesn't feel anything like an arcane spell list. Overall, they are a strange middle ground of a utility caster that also has some interesting defensive and offensive options, but they're tricky to play. The subclass, though, helps you lean into an archetype because the subclasses absolutely kind of push the druid in a very obvious direction. And today we're talking about the Circle of the Land. The Circle of Land druid leans heavily into casting. This is the magic user druid who isn't going to be wild shaping that often. They probably still will for utility purposes, but in combat they will be a spell slinger. And when you actually look at what the Circle of the Land can offer, it's gotten pretty impressive since 2014. We'll get into the details of it in just a moment. Before we do, though, I'd like to let you know Relaxed Fantasy Review has memberships. For just $1 a month, you can support me here on YouTube and get a couple benefits. First, you get a little badge next to your name in the comments, letting folks know you're a supporter. Also, you get early access to my videos. I upload videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I upload them a day early for members only. And finally, I have a community Discord, which has a VIP space, and anyone who's a member of the channel can come hang out in the VIP space and chat with me about D&D. If any of that interests you, you can click the join button just down there next to the subscribe button. I'd love to see you in the Discord or in the comments. And if none of that interests you, that's fine. The Discord's free for anyone to enter if they'd like. The links are in the video description and in the channel description. And just watching the video, being here, listening to me ramble on about D&D is a great way to support me. So thank you for watching my content here on YouTube. So the first thing you're going to get with the Circle of the Land, Druids choose their subclass at level 3, like everyone else. It's not level 2 anymore. And with this subclass, you get an expanded spell list. But you don't just get any expanded spell list. Oh no, you get 4 expanded spell lists. And they are each tied to different types of land. Arid, which is, deserty stuff. Polar, which is, Arctic. Temperate, which I suppose would be like grasslands, plains, forests, that sort of thing, and tropical, so jungles and the like. Overall, each one of these areas grant you a spell list that is unique to that, and what's cool is that unlike the original land druid, you don't have to pick just one. No, you actually get to change them every time you long rest. It changes your special spells list. Now, you only get one spell for every spell level up to 5th level, plus a cantrip from each one. I'm not going to read the entire list here, but they're all very thematic. The Arid one gives you fiery spells. You get Firebolt for a cantrip, Burning Hands, Fireball, that sort of thing. The Polar one gives you Ray of Frost. It also gives you Hold Person and Cone of Cold later on. The Temperate one is focused on lightning damage, so you get things like Shocking Grasp and Lightning Bolt. And the Tropical one is kind of acid poison focused. You get Acid Splash. I'm not sure why it wasn't Poison Spray, but anyway, Acid Splash, Web, Stinking Cloud, that sort of thing. Overall, these are all fine spell lists. There's always 1 or 2 hits on each one that's like, oh, I really want that one. And the fact that you can, every time you long rest, pick whichever one is going to be most appropriate. This really feels like a wizard-style druid, where you're going through a spell book and choosing your prepared spells, except, no, you're choosing your expanded spell list, and then you can choose whatever spells you like from the regular Druid list. And there are lots on here that Druids don't normally get access to. Most of those blaster spells that I just mentioned, Fireball, Lightning Bolt, you know, Ray of Frost, Fireball, those things don't show up on the Druid list. So having them here is a huge buff to magical damage. I think this is 10 out of 10, straight up. I think this is one of the coolest ways expanded spell lists have been handled. I wish this is how they did it in the old player's handbook, and I'm very, very pleased to see this change. Also at level 6, you get another use for your wild shape, called Land's Aid. As a magic action, you can use one of your wild shape charges, and you get so many of those a day. I think you get 2 a day to start, plus 1 back on a short rest, and then you get more throughout your career. I think they scale roughly with your proficiency bonus. Anyway, you choose an area, a 10-foot radius sphere within 60 feet of you, and every creature of your choice in that area must make a con save as magical thorns come up and get them. They make the con save and they take 2d6 necrotic damage on a failed save, half as much on a success. And you can choose a single creature in that area, so an ally, to regain 2d6 hit points as well. What's cool about this power, so first of all, you've got an attack and a heal in the same situation. This reminds me of the Wither and Bloom spell from the Strixhaven book. But on top of that, it uses wild shape instead of spells, so you can still use a bonus action to cast a spell or something if you want to. And the damage scales. It doesn't stick at 2d6. The damage and the healing go up to 3d6 and 4d6 at levels 10 and 14, so it actually scales a little faster than cantrips do. It's not the strongest feature in the world, but the fact that if you've got an ally that's just surrounded by enemies, you can drop this on them and heal them, because they're probably not feeling too good, and damage everyone that's fighting them, making their fight a little easier. I wish that this was like a duration, like maybe the damage, it would work kind of like spike growth, where any enemy that enters it or walks through it takes damage. But no, it's just a momentary burst of Land's Aid. Still, healing and damage, not a whole lot, but enough to make it worth talking about, especially with that healing. I'm going to say this is 9 out of 10. That might be a hot take. Some people are going to say the damage and the healing's too low, but I say combining them both into a single action just makes it all the better. Anyway, moving on to level 6, you get the Natural Recovery feature. This does 2 things. First of all, you can cast one of the leveled spells from your Circle Spells feature without expending a spell slot per day. You can do this with any of the lists. So yes, this is a free Cone of Cold, a free Fireball, a free Hold Person, whatever you have a leveled spell to do. The tropical one even has Polymorph, so it's a free Polymorph. Which is great. That's just a free spell slot. Awesome, I love that. But in addition, when you finish a short rest, you can do this once per day, you can choose a number of expended spell slots to recover a combined level that is equal to or less than half your Druid level rounded up. And none of them can be 6 or higher. This sounds almost exactly like the Arcane Recovery feature that the Wizard gets, where you get some of your spell slots back on a short rest. Awesome. So you got a free up to 5th level spell slot, as long as it's on your circle list. And once per day, you can short rest and get, at this point, that's 3 levels of spells, but by the end of the game, that's 10 levels of spells. I suppose in most campaigns it'd be up to 5. But still, recovering spell slots on a short rest is normally reserved for warlocks and wizards occasionally. Now druids can do it too, if they're a land druid. I think this is 10 out of 10, to be quite honest with you. If you're leaning into your magic and you're casting a lot of leveled spells, you're going to be burning through your slots, and recovering them on a long rest can be rough. Natural Recovery says, got you. Here's 3 more levels of spell slots. 1/3, a 2nd and a 1st, 3 first level spells, just for free. There you go. Have it on a short rest. 10 out of 10. Couldn't ask for more. Then at level 10, you get Nature's Ward. This makes you immune to the poisoned condition. Notice it doesn't say poison damage, the poisoned condition, but that's a pretty common condition, especially when you start looking into the monster manual. A lot of creatures force, relatively low con saves, but can make you poisoned. And those saves, if you're poisoned, you have disadvantage on attacks and ability checks. That includes magic. So, being immune is really, really nice. Also, you have a resistance to a specific damage type associated with whatever land you chose. So if you choose Arid and you're slinging fireballs and firebolts, you're resistant to fire damage. Polar makes you resistant to cold, temperate resistant to lightning, and tropical resistant to poison. So that's probably the one I'd be using the most often. This honestly is interesting because it gives you two reasons to lean into a specific type of casting. If you are uncertain what spells you need in the upcoming day because you don't know what you're getting yourself into, you might not be sure, like, which spell list do I choose? Well, now you have another reason: damage resistance. If you are completely uncertain about what you're fighting, I'd say go tropical because it gives you poison damage resistance, and that's one of the most common damage types. Arid, it would be a close second with fire damage resistance. Both of those are really solid things to resist, and the fact that you're getting some decent spells to go along with them is just gravy. I think this is 10 out of 10. Again, damage resistance, poison immunity, better tactical planning. It's all wonderful. Finally, level 14, you have the feature Nature's Sanctuary. This is another use of your wild shape, interestingly. As a magic action, you expend use of your wild shape, and you cause spectral trees and vines to appear in a 15-foot cube within 120 feet of you. They last for a minute or until you're incapacitated or die. You and your allies have half cover while you're in the area, and your allies share the damage resistance that Nature's Ward gives you. And then as a bonus action, you can actually move the cube 60 feet, within 120 feet of you, although it has to remain on the ground. So, yeah, instead of transforming into an animal, you create a 15-foot cube that gives you everybody +2 to their AC. That's what half cover means. And gives everyone a damage resistance. And you can move it with a bonus action. I think that this is nice. It's not the most powerful thing in the world. Half cover and damage resistance is cool. And there's a lot of big enemies that have, big deadly AoEs, Dragon's Breath, for example. This is going to make you and your entire party better at facing a dragon. Granted, if you're all clustered together within a 15-foot cube, that's not the best tactical decision, but it still makes it a lot more viable. Maybe you're clustered because you have to be, and because you're in certain terrain. I think this is worth a 9 out of 10. I mean, it doesn't give... The only thing it grants you as the druid is that half cover, but the fact that you're also giving it to allies and granting them damage resistance, and it only costs you a wild shape, doesn't even take concentration, I think that this is a really, really powerful feature. Even at level 14, it's going to save your bacon a few times. I say 9 out of 10. And overall, I give the Land Druid 10 out of 10. The versatility of their shifting spells and damage resistances is representative of the shifting biomes of the world. So they've got the theme and the power on point. Their wild shape uses aren't the strongest I've ever seen, but it gives you something to do that benefits your allies. There's healing, there's cover, there's damage resistances, and you can even damage creatures with your Land's Aid power. Yeah. And then you get way more spell slots than most other druids. Like, this is just, yeah. I'm giving this 10 out of 10. I love casters. I love people who focus on casting, even in the thick of combat. And this just gives you a massive reward for doing so. Land Druid, Circle of the Land, you're very, very much improved from the 2014 version. And yeah, I give you 10 out of 10. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for the join button down there, and keep your eyes peeled for more subclass reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.